Good morning, dear friends. Namaste. I am Satpal Verma here from Government National College Sirsa, and today we are going to discuss the chapter Language and National Identity written by Nirmal Verma. This chapter has been prescribed for study for the students of BA first semester. So let's start the essay. First of all, we shall read something about the author. So, about the author. Dear students, the author of the essay is Nirmal Verma. Nirmal Verma was a famous Hindi novelist, short story writer, travel writer, activist, translator, and his intellectual journey was amazing. He was born in Simla in 1929. It has been wrongly written 1908. And he graduated from St. Stephen's College, Delhi University. And like many of his contemporaries, he came from a large family, and some of his siblings were equally talented. And as a young man, he used to attend Gandhiji's prayer meetings in the Birla House. So he must have been impressed by Mahatma Gandhi. It is a different thing that he was a card holder member of the Communist Party. Means he was equally influenced by the communist ideas, and he lived in Prague for 10 years, during which period he translated 9 world classics into Hindi and also wrote 7 travelogues. Travelogues means related to travel. And he was the founding member of the Nai Kahani movement in Hindi literature, and his novel Maya Darpan was made into a successful film, and he chaired many creative writing programs, like the creative writing program at Bharat Bhavan in Bhopal and the Yaspal Center at Simla. His last novel, Antim Arne, was about love, old age, relationships, and it makes a sensitive and powerful contribution to the Hindi novel. And he died in 2005. So he was really a great novelist or the writer of Hindi literature. And I think this is enough about the author. Now let's read something about your chapter. This essay, that is Language and National Identity, is an excerpt. Excerpt means it has been taken from, it is a part of the long essay of the same title, Language and National Identity. It reflects Nirmal Verma's concern with language and national identity. It means the main focus of the essay is on the language and national identity. What is the relationship between the two? He discusses the necessity of language for constructing and asserting identity at all levels. I repeat, he discusses the necessity of language for constructing and asserting identity at all levels. It means language is a must for constructing, for creating, and asserting identity at all levels. We need words to objectify ourselves and to share our feelings with others as much as we need it to think. We need it for dreams and the shaping of our culture. It means language is the basis of self expression, self realization, self discovery, and self analysis. In this way, language, it is the language that evolves us. Evolvement develops us, helps us in growing up in multiple ways, in varied ways. So I think this is enough. Now we shall read the important paragraphs of the essay so that you can have a brief idea about the main points of the essay, and you can also prepare yourself for the important questions and the passages for comprehension which are asked in your examination. So let's read. To say anything about language is like chasing your own shadow. If you say something or anything about language, it means you are following your own shadow. You are going after your own shadow. You are running after your own shadow. It may be more appropriate to assert, and it is more appropriate. It is right to say that we are its shadow. Whose? We are shadows of the language. We create our reality with it. We create our reality with the language and define ourselves through it, and we also define ourselves through language and with it, that is with language. It means nothing is possible without language. We can define ourselves, we can create our reality with the language. Men can never be defined fully. Man cannot be defined fully. We cannot give a definite definition of man, not only because there is something in him that is still unknown. There is something that has not yet been known about man, but also that he has not yet completed the process of recreating and reinventing himself. So, why can a man not be defined fully? Number one, there is something that is still unknown, and secondly, he has not yet completed the process of recreating and redefining, reinventing himself. So we are unable to accept man as a finished product. We cannot accept him as a complete product, as a complete being. There has been much speculation about the manner in which, speculation means अटकलबाजियाँ कह सकते हो. There has been much speculation, many thoughts, many ideas about the way in which he may fulfill himself, how he will fulfill himself, and the direction of this fulfillment may take, in which direction he will go, and what kind of form he will acquire finally, and how he will project his innate potential in the future, and how he will show his inner capabilities in times to come. So it is very difficult to say, and that is why Nirmal Verma says that we are unable to accept man as a finished product. I think this idea has become clear to you people. So now let's move to passage number second. Man is the only creature between a god and an animal. It means man has been placed between god and animal, who finds himself in a strange situation of being incomplete. Man is incomplete and he is in a strange situation. He lacks the self involvement of the animal. He cannot involve himself like the animals, and he does not possess the fulfillment of a god, and he is not, you know, he does not have the fullness of a god. So he is neither a god nor an animal. He is in a strange situation. Even in the historical framework, if in the historical structure, man appears as a figure that has been half drawn, that is incomplete, as if thwarted in the process of acquiring a proper shape. Proper shape. Thwarted means it has been, in there has been some kind of interruption while acquiring the proper shape. This is the meaning of thwart, means to prevent somebody from doing what he or she wants to do. So he has been thwarted from acquiring the proper process or the shape. Its colors lackluster and faded. Its colors are faded. Its colors are very dim. There is no brightness. The full figure of a man, if there is such a thing, if anywhere exists a thing like full figure, it is not without. Not without means outwardly speaking, there is no full figure of man. Outwardly, there is no full figure of man. But buried within, if anywhere exists a thing like the full figure of man, it is buried within him. It is within man. And in order to raise himself, in order to realize himself, in order to realize, if the man wants to realize himself, man digs within. He will have to dig within himself and raises himself from his own grave, and he will have to raise from his own grave. So, if there is the full figure of man, if anywhere it exists, it is within man. Man will have to dig himself within, and only then he can raise himself from his own grave. So, man is not outward, man is within. And now let's move to next top your passage. Language is the most efficient weapon of self discovery and self analysis. So, dear students, language is not merely a tool of communication, it is the most efficient weapon of self discovery, self analysis. It is that invisible part of human body which gives man an inner sight. It also provides him inner sight, inner view, and it is an invisible part of human body. It is a part of it is like other organs of human body, but this part or organ is invisible. The link between language and self awareness puts in a separate and unique category from all other living beings. It is the language alone that helps man to gain self awareness, and it is only this trait of self awareness that makes man different from other living beings. This consciousness of his incompleteness makes him yearn for fulfillment. Yearn means to want something very much, especially when it is very difficult to get. It also means long for. बहुत तीव्र इच्छा रखना, तेज इच्छा. And it is the consciousness of being incomplete. When the man is conscious that he is incomplete, and this very consciousness makes him or inspires him for acquiring fulfillment. Thus, the determination to attain it is also intrinsic to its realization. If the man wants to realize himself, then it is intrinsic, it is fundamental. It's fundamental. So, man must be determined to attain it. Man must be determined to attain your fulfillment. And it is, fundamental for his self realization. I think you have got the point. No culture is limited only to its reality. No culture is limited to its reality. It reveals through its dreams also. It can be, revealed through dreams. And that is why language plays a very significant role in shaping of the culture. That is why the culture are shaped, but it is only through, the language. The language help us reveal our dreams. How can we reveal our dreams without language? Language is a must, as explained in the beginning. So now let's move to your next passage. The vision of culture is largely formed by the memories that it carries. The vision of culture. So it is largely memories of the past that form the vision of a culture. And the vision of a culture is largely formed by the memories it carries. There are memories that are carried with with the culture. If the world is symbolic of a dream, if the world is a symbol of dreams, it has also the hint of memory. The world is not without, dreams. If the world is a symbol of dreams, then the dream has, the hint of memory. Means dreams are without memories if the world is a symbol of dream. No language, as long as it is, can therefore be a dead language. So it is the language through which the members of the society communicate with each other. Therefore no language, as long as it is, can be called a dead language, because the members of the society communicate with each other. So how can we call a language a dead language? If all else of our past were to perish, if everything about the past is destroyed, let us say, or if it is finished, even then the language would remain forever, through which the members of the society communicate with each other. And that is why no language is dead language. And though living in the present, are unconsciously linked with the past. If we are living in the present, we are indirectly connected with our past memories also, and the past follows in imperceptibly through the present. Imperceptibly means invisibly, you can say, very small, and therefore unable to be seen or felt. So our past imperceptibly, invisibly, flows through the present. So past, present, and future, all these things are connected through language. So if everything else is destroyed or finished or annihilated, the language would remain forever. And it is the language through which the members of a society communicate. So no language is dead language. Language in this manner plays a double role. What are sorts? Number one, it is the vehicle of communication, and secondly, it is also the carrier of culture. So first, language is the vehicle of communication, and secondly, language is the carrier of culture. Historical upheavals may impair, upheavals में उतार चढ़ाव, historical happenings may impair, may destroy the culture of a country, but its truth and cohesion means unity, fundamental unity, persist in its link. Persist means to continue to exist, बने रहना. So, the culture of a country can be destroyed, but its truth, the truth of the culture, and the cohesion, the quality of being one, persist in its language. So that is why the language is the carrier of culture. So the culture of a country can be destroyed, but the language and the truth, or the truth of the culture that is inherent in the language, it cannot be destroyed. So let's move to passage number 5. Each language has its own history and also a geography of its own. So language is not without history and geography. We cannot separate its symbolic character from its natural environment. Its symbolic character cannot be separated from its natural environment. Symbolic characters are always connected with the natural environment. If symbols like Ganga, Saraswati, Himalaya, ocean, and space are deeply entrenched means deeply rooted in the Indian languages, and profoundly means greatly influence our sensibilities, it is not because they are physical attributes means qualities of our natural habitat means living place, but because they are the carrier of our legendary memories. Legendary बोलते हैं पौराणिक गाथाएं कथाएं, that is called legendary. So what the author wants to say, that we cannot separate the symbolic character of a language from its natural environment. It is because they are the carrier of our legendary memories. Legendary memories, keep in mind these things. The symbols like Ganga, Saraswati, Himalaya, ocean, space, they are deeply entrenched, they are deeply rooted in our Indian languages. And since they are deeply, placed or established in our languages, they also influenced our sensibilities, our senses. It is not because they are the physical attribute. They are not only physical attributes or the qualities or the virtues of our natural living place, but because they are the carriers of our legendary memories. Whenever, for example, whenever we uh, you know say the words like Ganga, सरस्वती, हिमालय, तो हमें उनकी भी याद आती है, गंगा माता, सरस्वती माता, हिमालय. सो they are the carriers of our legendary memories. Legendary memories are also remembered by taking the name of the Ganga, the Himalaya. So legendary means very famous and talked about a lot of people, especially in a way that shows admiration. So legendary. So I think everything is clear. Which at one linked Indians to their deities. Suppose if we take the name of Ganga, it also reminds us of Ganga Mata and lent a divine grace to their material existence. Divine grace. It also provides a divine grace to their worldly existence. The meaning of the word Bharat was its essence. Bharat means a region surrounded by divinity. Divinity means, divine virtues. The reason why Bharat was called Dev Bhumi, that is the land of gods, and Sanskrit was called Dev Bhasha, that is language of gods, was to emphasize the eternal, and the eternal means forever, and sacred means pure relation between the land and the language. So there is an eternal and sacred relationship or link between the land and the language, and it is clear from Bharat, that is Deva Bhumi, and Sanskrit, that is Deva Bhasha. So the land and the gods are interconnected. Let's move to the last slide. In India, the desire to seek freedom was inspired not only by political factors. We want to get freedom. It was not only inspired by the political factor, but there was also the desire to retrieve our cultural identity from darkness of oblivion. It means we want to retrieve means we want to get back our cultural identity from the darkness of oblivion. गुमनामी के अंधेरों में जो हमारी आइडेंटिटी खो गई थी, we want to get it back. It means it is inherent in our culture that we want to seek freedom. We want to get freedom. From this point of view, it was different from the aggressive, egoistic sentiments that lay behind the modern nation states. That is why India is different. It is not aggressive, egoistic, or like the modern states. No, which came into existence only after various races, nationalities, and folk languages were annihilated. Folk languages, various races, nationalities, and folk languages were annihilated. It was aggressive and egoistic sentiments of some communities that lay behind the creation of modern nation states, and it is resulted in the annihilation of various races, nationalities, and folk languages. That the Indian national awareness was free of self involved rigidity. There was no rigidity in the Indian national awareness right from its inception, right from its beginning, was because it had not been forcibly imposed from above. Means there was no compulsion, it was not imposed from above, but its roots lay deep in Indian cultural tradition. It means that the Indian national awareness was not imposed from somewhere else, rather, it was deeply rooted, deeply placed in Indian cultural tradition. So, I think the students, you have got the ideas clear. We have talked about your language, that how language help us create our reality, how can we define through language, and how man is not a finished product, what are the speculation about man we have read, and how man is different from other creatures, What is the difference between god and animal? Man is in the only creature. He is in a strange situation. And we have also talked about that language is the most efficient weapon of self discovery, self analysis, and it is the language alone that helps man to gain self awareness. It is a trait of self awareness that makes man yearn for, that makes man different from other living beings. And the vision of a culture is largely formed by the memories it carries. We also talked about language and the culture, how how the memories of the past form the vision of culture. We also talked about that language is the vehicle of communication and language is the carrier of culture also. And we have also talked about the symbolic character of a language and the natural environment. We have also talked about how Indians were linked to their deities. It was only through language. It was this sacred relationship or the relation that lent a divine grace to the material existence of Indians. And it has also been underlined that the eternal and the sacred relation between the land and the language. And finally, we have also talked about the political factors that our Indians were inspired not only by Indian your political factors, but also by the desire to retrieve their cultural identity from the darkness of oblivion. And it has also been explained that Indian national awareness was something not forcibly imposed from above, but something rooted deep in Indian cultural tradition. So I think everything is clear. And let's talk about your some questions. Who is the author of the essay? After its very fundamental question, and after reading the chapter, you must be in a position to answer the question. Who is the author? Can man be defined fully? Can you define a man fully? Is it possible? So go through the your essay, and it has been explained in the very beginning. What in what manner does author play a double role? In what manner does language play a double role? How language plays a double role? What is the meaning of, it is not odd, it is of Dev Bhumi, that is land of gods. What is its meaning? What is the meaning of Dev Bhasha? ये हिंदी के शब्द हैं. देव भाषा, that is land of gods. What is its meaning? You have to explain. What is the meaning of Dev Bhumi, Dev Bhasha? They are interconnected. What has been the point of speculation about man? Speculation means अटकलबाजियाँ. किस तरह की अटकलबाजियाँ हुई हैं about man? Means how the fulfillment he will acquire, in which direction this fulfillment will go, how will he project himself after getting fulfillment, okay, in times to come, what kind of direction he will take. So what makes man yearn for fulfillment? What makes man yearn for fulfillment? Yearn means here means inspire. इंस्पायर ऐसी कौन सी चीज़ है जो उसे इंस्पायर करती है? टू मीन्स यर्न बेसिकली मीन टू वांट समथिंग वेरी मच, स्पेशली व्हेन इट इज़ वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू गेट इट, टू लॉन्ग फॉर, इच्छा रखना. सो व्हाट मेक्स मैन yearn for fulfillment? So dear students, these are the basics question, and we have almost read your chapter language and national identity. We have covered most of the passages, the almost 6 passages. So you can read the chapter, and any kind of difficulty you can write in the comment box. So we shall continue. Next time we shall discuss another your chapter in the coming on coming Wednesday. So thank you for watching the video. So be connected, and keep reading. Thank you very much.